So you want to understand the Bible better. I have got 5 books for you that will help you reach that goal. Quick note from editing, Chad, because I forgot to put this in the introduction. But did you know that I have an email that goes out every Monday morning about 6 o'clock? It's a link roundup. And in it, I share around 7 of the best things that I have just read, watched, engaged, or otherwise across the internet. It's going to talk about theology in the Bible from a positive perspective. It's going to talk about some social culture, social theory, some music, some YouTube stuff, but in general, just like the things that I've enjoyed and found joy in that week. I also share all the things that I've created that week, and it sends it to you 100% free. So if you would like to get that in your email every Monday morning to brighten up the Mondays, just go down to the show notes and there is a quick link to where you can sign up for that, and I would love to pop that into your inbox every single week. Thanks, and back to the video. Chad Brooks. I'm a pastor here in Louisiana, and I make videos about the Bible, about the spiritual life, and the everyday going-ons of a pastor. And I've got 5 different books to share with you today that I have read over the last probably 20 years or so that helped me understand the Bible. But more than anything else, they help me love the Bible. It's not so much about gaining information in these books here. I've got some of those, but that's not what this video is for. This video is for just books to help you understand the Bible more. Now, there are Amazon links to all 5 of these books in the description below. Those are affiliate links, but all that money goes to either help me buy more books or to buy the stuff I need to make this channel better. So it's just a small way of helping the channel out. And we're going to start off with this, and it makes that differentiation point. First one is this. This is Eugene Peterson's book, Eat This Book. If you've seen the video about my seminary Bible that has this phrase written on it, it comes from here. Now, Eugene Peterson wrote the message. I think Eugene Peterson is possibly one of the few Christian writers of the second half of the 20th century that we will be reading for a long time. I love Peterson. What I've also really appreciated is the fact that, a lot of what people love about Eugene Peterson and appreciate about Eugene Peterson was done in the last 20 or 30 years of his life. He labored in obscurity for a really long time. But Eat This Book, he has a whole set of books that is about how we read the Bible and the way that we encounter it. And Eat This Book is about just that. It's that we are reading the Bible and why we are reading the Bible. And it invites us to just journey into scriptures in a really unique way. It talks about our hermeneutic, our way of reading, our way of interpreting. But Eat This Book is a fantastic book. The subtitle, A Conversation in the Art of Spiritual Reading. We read the Bible, we read this big book right here, different from how we read any other book, and that's what Peterson invites us into. So that's the first one, Eugene Peterson. A second one, Epic of Eden by Sandra Richter, a Christian's journey into the Old Testament. Now this borders a little bit on Bible knowledge. That other video I need to make, but it's so good. Dr. Richter, I never had her when I was at Asbury. She was at Asbury while I was at Asbury, and she is just one of the best Old Testament writers and thinkers and professors that there is out there right now. She's really good, but what she does is she helps us understand in this book those big picture arcs that we find inside of the Old Testament. She talks about covenant really well. She talks about intent. All of the reasons I prefer just a big picture reading of scripture, like doing 90-day reads, 60-day reads, 30-day reads, just to connect all of these points. Dr. Richter does a really good job with it in this book. There's also a congregational study of that book of the same title by the good folks over at Seedbed, but Epic of Eden just is a great job if you're struggling to understand the whole 9 yards about the Old Testament. The next one, I don't have a physical copy of it. Actually, I don't have a physical copy for the next 2 of these books, but is this, The Story of God, The Story of Us by Sean Gladding. This is an incredible book that takes a narrative approach to Scripture. And the way that he does it, it reads like a story. It reads like a novel. And we begin to see how that scriptures might have functioned inside of a biblical community. You've heard me say before, maybe in some other videos, I think the exile is like this penultimate moment in the Old Testament. And so he talks about what does the community of the Jewish people look like inside of the exile. How do they deal with scriptures? The New Testament is from the perspective of a house church. It's an easy book. It's not an academic book. I think it might be number one on this list of if I'm going to recommend one of these books to read for people, it might be that one. But I can't say enough about the story of God, the story of us. The fourth book, it's going to be a little bit weird, and it's called this. It's Jerusalem, a biography. I read this book last year, and it's a biography of the city of Jerusalem. That's it. And that might sound weird, like, Chad, why do I need to understand this or read this to understand the Bible more? But Jerusalem is almost a character in so much of the biblical story. And this book helps us understand the interplay between the priests, between the kings, between the conquerors, between the next temple, the priests that are there, between the Romans, all of this sort of thing. That if we want to understand the cultural and relational dynamics of Jerusalem, this is an easy way to. It's not a tough book. It's not an academic book. I believe it's written by a Jewish person, so it doesn't have like any sort of weird eschatological attachments to the city. So if you're looking for that, wrong book and probably wrong YouTube channel, actually. But Jerusalem, a biography. That's great. Now this fifth one, let's show it to you. And I'm going to wait for you to show up in the comments. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if you get weird and trolly in the comments, I'm going to take it out. And you might say, Chad, that guy, we canceled that guy 10 years ago. Yeah, you might have, but I'm telling you what. Rob Bell's book, What is the Bible, is fantastic. Now, I know Chad is a heretic. Just saying the word heretic, it's not loaded whatsoever at all. We're not having a Council of Nicaea. We're not burning anybody at the stake. Rob Bell 20 years ago was responsible for so many people actually being Christians. And so I know the guy's problematic. He's troublesome. His book on hell, which was the one before this, he actually, sidebar, if you want to get like all Rob Belly, he actually talks about that whole scenario inside of this book. And it's called a Note on Growing and Changing. It's in there. But this is why I love this book. And there's several books that I could have put here in this place. Dan Kimball's book, How Not to Read the Bible, easily could have gone here. But I didn't put it in there because if I put Dan Kimball's How Not to Read the Bible in this list, I would be putting it in there because I'd be too chicken to share this book. And you know what? Brooks ain't chicken. This book, more than anything else, does a really good job talking about why on earth is all of this weird stuff in here. And it talks about the dangers of applying what I will tell you is a hyper-literalistic Western 20th century reading of Scripture into things. And I just used all those big words because of that. It's a reading that existed and exists only starting in the mid-20th century as a reaction to things. It's not the way the church has read the Bible for 2,000 years. And also, Bell, as he always has for 2 decades now at least, he helps us understand the weird stuff. Remember, this is the guy who started a massively growing church with a sermon series on Leviticus. He launched a church preaching on Leviticus. Rob Bell just deals with the complexity of all of these things better than anybody else in this book. And so, if you're turned off and you don't know what to do with just the weird stuff in the Bible, this book is there. Now, I've got a couple of honorable mentions, and like I just mentioned, Dan Kimball's How Not to Read the Bible. That's there. There's a book called The Drama of Scripture. It's really, really good, but I wanted Epic of Eden to be in there. And there's tons of other stuff. Like I said, this is not about how to gain knowledge. This is not a research or a resource list. This is just about 5 books that are all easy to read. And if you read them, you'll understand the bigger picture of Scripture so much. So if you like content like this, do me a favor. I always hang out in the comments. And so leave a comment. And you know what, honestly, if you're being cool, if you follow the 11th commandment, thou shalt be cool, and you're nice, I'll even engage with you on this. But a lot of that stuff just doesn't matter to me. Jesus is bigger than, whatever thing a person on Twitter might say. But hang out with me in the comments and tell me what you think about this. And tell me if you're excited about a list of 5 books to help you know more about the Bible. You want that kind of more heady thing. So I'm Chad Brooks, and I'll see you back in the next video.